All right, let's talk about a mental model that could totally change how you make decisions. It's all about that gut feeling, that very first instinct. Turns out it might be way more powerful than you think, even more powerful than agonizing over a choice for hours. So where does this surprising idea even come from? Let's get into it. I mean, you've been there, right? Stuck on a decision, you're making pro-con lists, you're polling all your friends. You spend days on this thing, and then what happens? You end up circling right back to the idea you had in the first place. Ugh, it's so frustrating. But what if I told you there's a real, powerful reason that happens?
Yeah, that whole thing is called analysis paralysis. And the secret to understanding it and maybe even breaking free from it, well, it comes from a pretty unexpected place. We're talking about the super analytical, high-stakes world of elite chess masters.
And that brings us to something called the first chess theory. Now, this is based on a really wild observation. Picture this. A chess grandmaster looks at a board. The very first move that pops into their head, like in the first 5 seconds, is almost always the exact same move they'd land on after, say, 30 minutes of deep, intense thinking. So just think about that for a second. You've got this super fast, intuitive flash of a move, and then you've got the slow, careful, step-by-step analysis. And the whole theory rests on this mind-blowing idea that for a real expert, these two completely different ways of thinking, they end up at the exact same answer. That quick flash, it's not just a random guess. It's their brain, in a split second, matching the board to thousands of patterns it already knows.
Okay, but that's the big question, right? How often are we talking about here? It's easy to say often, but does that mean like half the time? 60%? The actual number, well, that's what gives this whole theory its punch.
86%. Seriously, just let that sink in. In a whopping 86% of cases, that gut feeling from the first few seconds is the same as the final thought-out decision. All that extra time, all that mental gymnastics, it's really just confirming what their expert gut knew all along.
And look, this isn't some number pulled out of thin air. The theory actually came about back in the 90s. A chess player named Tim Close was researching how grandmasters think, and he's the one who found this incredible link, this consistency between their instant reactions and their long, careful thinking. Okay, so this is all super interesting if you're a chess nerd, but here's where it gets really good for the rest of us. How do we take this idea and actually use it, outside of a chess game, in our own lives?
Because really, this isn't just about chess pieces. At its core, it's about the power of the expertise you build up over time. And we all have that in our own fields, in our own lives. Think about it. At your job, you've got a big decision to make, or maybe just a gut feeling about a new project. That instinct, it's not coming from nowhere. It's your brain running a super fast check against every other similar thing you've ever dealt with. And it's the same thing in your personal life, too. That first gut check about a new place to live, a big purchase, even a relationship. The whole point of the first chess theory is that in any area where you've got some miles on the odometer, where you've built up experience, that first gut feeling, it deserves to be taken seriously. So how do you actually use this? It's actually pretty simple. Next time you're facing a choice that matters, just take a beat. What's your immediate gut reaction? Your 5-second answer. Okay, got it? Now, instead of just pushing it aside to start your big, long analysis, give it some weight. Recognize that that first thought is a real player here, and it might just be the best one you've got. Now, obviously, we got to be smart about this. This isn't just a license to be reckless with every choice. So let's get into the balanced view here. When should you trust that gut feeling, and when do you really need to pump the brakes? The big warning here is that overthinking isn't just a waste of time. It can actually make things worse. When you second-guess that expert intuition, and remember, you are an expert in your own life and work, you can start to muddy the waters with doubt and confusion, and that can steer you away from the best answer. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. Your first thought is incredibly powerful. That 5-second gut feeling can get you to better answers faster, because it's using all the experience you've stored up. But, and this is super, super important, this is a guide, not a rule set in stone. If you're in a situation where you have zero experience, yeah, you're gonna want to do the deep analysis. But in those areas where you really know your stuff, Your gut is like a finely tuned instrument. You should learn to trust it.
So there you have it. The first chess theory isn't telling you to stop thinking, it's just telling you to respect your first thought. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What's one decision you're facing this week, big or small, where you're going to stop overthinking it and give that 5-second answer a real shot?